your list of on your timetable.
Well, good morning, Mr. McIntosh. 10 minutes, and I will. I learnt something in the annual plan hearings. At 8 minutes, I will tell you there is a couple of minutes left. If you wish us to ask you questions on your submission, please allow us some time within that 10 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you hear me, June? Thank you. Okay, well, thanks very much for this opportunity to appear before you. Just get straight into it. I accept the value of the Ruataniwha Water Storage Scheme to agriculture and the regional economy in Central Hawke's Bay. I approve personally of providing the option of using irrigation to overcome some of the variability in rainfall and thus bring more certainty to forward financial planning. However, that approval is not unconditional. Even the original promoter, the then Hawke's Bay Regional Council, recognised the risks and possible costs to the public purse, setting conditions precedent that needed to be met before they would commit their ratepayers' money. After setting up the Regional Investment Company, the Council also noted the risk of perceived conflict of interest and removed council members from the board of that company in December 2013. In my opinion, that move has since been negated by the very active participation of some councillors and staff in the promotion of the project. It is the subsequent management of those two risks that my written submission addresses. Following receipt of this meeting's agenda, I have decided to concentrate my oral submission on the management of the conditions precedent. There are a variety of statements of these, including the new version in today's agenda, numbers 2.4, 2.6 on page 1. I have not seen it stated anywhere else that it is HBRC who decides whether the Board of Inquiry conditions are workable. I thought that the water purchasing farmers and investors were to be the judges of that. It is also news to me that the investors, presumably including the Regional Council, may choose to waive some or all of the conditions precedent. I don't think that's been mentioned anywhere previously. The statement of proposal put to the public in May 2014 did not mention these new interpretations. It states clearly that the four conditions precedent are as on pages 13 and 14 of that document. Note that it says there that the Regional Council, the investor, decides whether those conditions are met to its satisfaction, not HBRC. While the Council has yet to be really open with the public on these matters, I gather that none of the conditions have been met to date. The Council staff and HBRC are seeking a change in the dissolved inorganic nitrogen levels set by the Board of Inquiry, claiming that it is unworkable. I think Dr. Pearce even made the statement the dam wouldn't be built if that level was kept in the conditions. Few or no farmers have signed water purchase contracts. No contract terms have been agreed with the Crown Irrigation Investment Company. No major institutional investors have committed to putting in funds. No construction and design contract has been agreed or signed. And the date for financial close has been put back to December the 30th of this year. Another variation crops up at this point. The statement of proposal put to the public states merely that financial close is expected by this date. In other words, the deadline is being moved further into the future while more of the Council and therefore ratepayers' funds are diverted into meeting the costs of the investment company. An extra $2 million, as you know, was granted up to June the 30th this year, and I'm asking, is any more going to be asked for to carry HBRC to the 30th of September financial close? Are the ratepayers ever going to receive a full and understandable accounting report for the use of their funds? And I've seen figures ranging from $9 million to $15 million on money already spent on this process. I want the Regional Council to ensure that its conditions precedent are all met before any further money is transferred to HBRC for the water storage scheme. Another variation should be drawn to your attention at this point too. The fourth condition precedent in the statement of proposal was a bankable construction contract which adequately addresses construction risk allocation through a fixed time, fixed cost arrangement. That condition has now morphed into point 17 on page 5 of today's agenda. To quote, "It is expected that the agreement for the construction contract will not be part of this," that is the conditions precedent sequencing, "but will, however, be advised by HBRC upon completion." And I presume that this means that investors may well be asked to commit funds before the final cost and conditions are known to them. And that certainly, as far as the investors are concerned, would ramp the risk factor up. Given the propensity for such projects to run way over budget, I would think that potential investors would see a fixed price contract as a necessity. The Regional Council should retain the signing of a design and construction contract as one of its conditions precedent. The Council has paid 2 consultants, Nimmo Bell, to analyse possible alternative investments, and Deloitte to evaluate the business case for the water storage scheme put forward by HBRC. And that's noted on points 2.2, 2.3 and page 1 of your agenda. The fact that both consultants were unable to reach firm conclusions because of insufficient information available from HBRC, which has already been mentioned here this morning, represents both poor planning and a waste of taxpayers' funds, or ratepayers' funds. You will remember that both Trustpower and Kaitahu, and that's not a misspelling, that's the way it's pronounced where I come from, withdrew as institutional investors because of the high risk that their required investment terms would not be reached. Deloitte's identified rate of farmer uptake of irrigation water contracts as the key factor governing the risk and return profile. HBRC and Regional Council staff have done little to reassure farmers and investors. In fact, they have produced the opposite effect, in my opinion, by bluntly proclaiming the scheme is unworkable under the draft Board of Inquiry conditions. If it has already been decided that the Ruataniwha water storage scheme is unworkable because of the dissolved inorganic nitrogen levels set by the Board of Inquiry, are more of the ratepayers' funds going to be diverted from the construction project and into discussions and legal arguments that could delay this project for many years? I implore the Regional Council to hold firm to the date of the 30th of September for financial close, together with the need for all the conditions precedent to be satisfied at that time. Thank you very much for your attendance and attention, rather. That's all I have to say. Are there any questions?
Mr McIntosh, you've spot on 8 minutes there. Very impressive reading of that, actually. Questions? Councillor Barker.
I've got 3 short questions for you. Do you think the Regional Councillors should exercise the highest standards of fiduciary responsibility when considering this dam proposal?
Yes, I do.
Do you think that the Regional Council should only make the decision when all of the information in the business case is available to them for their examination?
Yes, I do.
And do you think the Regional Council should only make a decision when the contracts for water, the 40 million cubic metres, is unconditional and the water storage entity has agreed to supply that amount of water?
Yes, I do.
And there should be no decision made before that?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Mr McIntosh, and thank you very much for giving us a written copy of your oral submission. You've referred to some of the money that's being paid at the moment through the process of. Are you aware that it is Hawke's Bay Regional Council's sole responsibility as the plan change?
I thought it was, but And
And
reading
that-
some of
that-
these things in the minutes, it seems that other people are making decisions.
Are you aware that the money that has been paid to HBRC is in fact Regional Council's very lightweight share of the money?
Well, that
For
has
the
not been
plan
made
change.
obvious to the public. There's
Mr.
been
Chairman,
no account so far released publicly, and that's why I made that comment in my submission.
perhaps, Mr. Chairman, it might be helpful in replying to some of the submitters to attach the minutes of the meeting when we discuss this.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll sort that out. And thank you, Mr. McIntosh, for a very complete presentation. Thank you.